Good evening, Mark. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to welcome you once again. And my audience, which are mainly young Russian Jews and beyond, of course, we love you.
Well,
And I have to tell you, for many, many years, we watch many of our members of the community watch your TV programs. RTN is something that was so unique and so dear to our hearts.
to me too.
And the fact that you today leading JBS, Jewish Broadcasting
Service.
Service, is just, I believe, the place for young generation of Russian Jews to connect with.
I would love that to be true. And by the way, I don't know if we talked last time about, I think I may have said very quickly, where can people watch JBS? And
Please.
so if anybody is watching right now and you want to watch JBS, and JBS is like PBS television, if you know what public television is like, but it's Jewish themed. We're nonprofit, a lot of Jewish education, very committed to the state of Israel. There are Friday night services from both an Orthodox synagogue and a Reform synagogue, which have meant the world to people, especially during COVID. We have extensive event coverage so that whatever's going on, you can see it at JBS. You can't get to many events, but you can see them all on JBS. We have Jewish studies programs. You can study Talmud once a week. I do a Jewish introduction called Jewish 101. And we have movies and 92nd Street Y and children's programming twice a day. And so we have a program called Witness, where we talk to people who have survived the Shoah. So it's a very broad spectrum of Jewish programming. What we say is JBS expanding Jewish understanding, celebrating all things Jewish. So if you have Optimum, it's channel 138. If you have DirecTV, it's channel 388. If you have Verizon Fios, it's 798. And if you have RCN, it's channel 269. And those are the major channels in the area that the Russian American community lives in. So I hope any of you who want to watch a Jewish channel, if you know enough English and you're comfortable with English, you'll tune in. And if you do, I hope you'll be in touch with me. And it's something I didn't do last time I was with Aryeh. I didn't give you my email address. It's so easy. Rabbi Golub, RABBIGOLUB, Rabbi Golub at jbstv.org. Rabbi Golub at jbstv.org. I would be happy to hear from any of you. So thank you for letting me remind people of how they can watch and how they can reach me.
Thank you so much for sharing it. I would even say that, especially because of this current COVID crisis, these opportunities to connect by TV, online, became maybe unique and important in the sense of belonging and knowledge and learning and growing. So I think that you should continue growing your services, and your service we should continue growing. And for us, the slogan of Rage was from let my people go to let my people know.
Ooh, nice. Very nice.
And as a matter of fact, we're also running non-stop online programming, non-stop.
Well, good for you.
We have fellowship programs on Zoom. We have young Russian Jews from all over the country meeting on Zoom and learning for hours. Amazing stuff from amazing people. Would love you to come and speak.
Anytime. Is it basically in Russian or in English?
Oh, no. Most of the people don't even speak Russian by now. No, they're really Americans. And I would even say some people are not Russians, but they want to come. And since we talk, I want to say even something else. There's a very interesting phenomenon. Our Russian Jewish American Experience organization is growing rapidly.
Yes.
From Brooklyn, you remember Brooklyn, Brighton Beach, to Manhattan. We have a wonderful Manhattan branch, to Philadelphia, to Chicago, to Baltimore,
Good
to
for you.
Toronto, San Francisco. We are working on San Francisco, and there are other places in California. And it happens not because I'm sitting on the phone and saying, do you want to do it? Columbus, Ohio. Interesting. People called me and said, we want to open Rage. Why do you want to open Rage? Because I said, are you Russian? No. Do you serve Russian community? No. But whenever we offer classes, only Russian Jews come. And we think that the more Russian Jews will come, they will bring their American friends.
Give me an example of a class.
Well, very interesting class that I remember hearing from one of my rabbis from Baltimore, Rabbi Haran, Gabriel Haran, who actually was raised in a very, very liberal family on Upper West Side. And he gave a class of mysticism of elections.
I'm sorry, mysticism over what?
Elections.
What
and
is
we did it, and
what-
we did it on elections night.
what does that
And
mean?
and the idea was of finding the balance between love of the Democrats and so to speak, gvura, more balanced conservative approach of the Republicans, and only bipartisan approach of working the right and left together in finding the balance in life and in politics.
Okay.
That was a wonderful class. Was
Well, what I
interesting.
was thinking to myself is, you should let me know if you think you have some classes
Of course.
that would be of interest to the Jewish community at large, and we'll play some of them on JBS if they're, I don't know how they're recorded. If they're recorded well enough for television, and people are doing webinars and Zoom programs all the time, if you've got one that you think is really would be of interest to the American Jewish community, whether it involves, your Russian-speaking community, or I guess now it's descendants of Russian-speaking individuals. But if you have a program that you think would be of interest to the entire Jewish community, you should let me know, and we'll look at it. Maybe we can promote some of the things you're doing.
But we definitely want to hear from you about Russian Jewish history here, because the creation of RTN is an era. It is something that people should know in itself, how you did it, how it came about. The struggle, by the way, for the Russian Jewry, the fact that the struggle for the Russian Jewry united American Jews, right? That was a cause that inspired people.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Yes, it's interesting. I have only been arrested once in my life. I think that's true. Only once in my life. The only time I was arrested is when I was part of a protest in front of the Soviet mission, protesting the imprisonment of, at that time it was Anatoly
Sharansky, right. I remember myself being I was 15 years old, and I was in Moscow, and I was shocked by hearing about this arrest. I remember myself at that day.
And
I
we
remember that.
went down to Washington, D.C. on the coldest Sunday I can ever remember, on the great lawn in front of the Congress. And there were hundreds of thousands of people who came down to protest the Reagan administration, to encourage him to follow through on the Jackson-Vanik Amendment, and to say to Gorbachev, part of the responsibility you have, if you want to have a relationship with the United States, you must also open the doors for the Jews of the Soviet Union to be able to leave. And Sharansky, by that time, was in the United States. He spoke, Elie Wiesel spoke, and we all got in buses,
right,
down. And my daughter was I don't know, Dara was maybe 3 years old, something like that, and we carried her, and it was so cold, but it didn't matter. The warmth of that gathering, hundreds of thousands of people,
250,000 people were there.
yeah, Jews,
Right.
non-Jews too, all there,
yes,
saying to the Reagan administration, help open the doors for the Jewish prisoners of the former Soviet Union.
But that was already, it was not 1975. Reagan wasn't the president yet, right? That was already when Sharansky got out and Sharansky led this demonstration. You talk about demonstration of like probably 1990. I don't remember exactly. Correct?
8990, yes.
Right. That was already later on.
Right.
But I want to tell you, I want to thank you so much for your efforts, because I believe your TV, in a way, and everything you did for the Russian community is a result of this struggle. Correct?
That's
If
right.
not for this struggle, all of us would stay in Moscow. I would be still in Moscow. If not for your struggle, if you would not be arrested, I would be in Moscow. But I believe the main spiritual rule or law is what goes around comes around. Midah keneged midah, measure for measure. When you altruistically, without thinking about yourself, care for somebody else, it comes back. We'll call it also the law of reciprocation. So the American Jews who cared for Russian Jews and fought for the Russian Jews actually fought for their own children, not just for the Russian Jews. Why? Because today, Russian Jews all over the country, on college campuses, in many communities, leading the efforts for Jewish rejuvenation, for rebirth, for standing up for Israel. And that's why I was saying in Ohio, they said, Russian Jews bring their American friends. NYU, if someone from our listeners wants to correct me, please, some NYU rabbi said to me, we're making classes and 90 or 75% of all the participants are Russian Jews. How come we have maybe 10% from all the Jewish students, maybe 10% are Russian? But when we make a pro-Israel event or Jewish class, maybe 90% are Russian participants.
Fabulous.
So I hope that, we definitely need to bring your TV to our community, and that's the best way. So,
by the way, you're all over the country, aren't you?
In terms of youth programs,
this what we're doing right now is seen by people everywhere, right?
I would even share with you a secret. Not only it's all over the country, but it's all over the world.
I don't doubt it. Anyway, the reason I say that is I don't want people to think that JBS is a East Coast or New York phenomenon.
Oh no!
And if you have DirecTV and you live in the sticks of Montana,
of course,
you can still watch no matter where you are throughout the United States. And JBS, just as you are, we are online, jbstv.org. You go online and you can watch the channel online anywhere in the world. And that is the blessing now of modern technology. There are problems to it as well. But one of the blessings is that if you have something positive that you're doing or saying, you can get the message to anybody, anywhere on the globe.
Amazing. I would even then ask you something and share with you. Our last program was dedicated to elections. And
was I wrong?
It was for me. I was so moved, and I'm still moved, and I'm really stunned.
Okay, but I wasn't so far. I made no mistakes yet.
Not only you didn't make mistakes, no, but you were very, very direct. You were very direct in your definitions. You were not politically correct. You were speaking the truth, I would say. Now, I have to admit that I did not share this video on Russian American Jewish platform, because I understand, and I actually heard some people complain, Rabbi Katzin, speak about the beauty of Judaism, like, since when rage became political. That comment came on one of my videos. And my answer is, we love Israel and we love the Jewish community. But majority of my audience, people who are watching you right now, Russian Jews. They are Russian Jews. So after speaking with you on Thursday, I shared Russian version in Russian.
Okay.
And I just, in my words, in my interpretation, from my heart, said, I spoke with you and this is what you said. I have to tell you, we have like 25,000 views. 25,000 views.
Very impressive.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Hundreds of comments. It was really hundreds of people shared this. So that went all over the country. It was very powerful.
Lovely.
And but my question actually to you, you are a rabbi of a congregation, and we don't mix congregation, Judaism. We want to welcome everybody. We welcome people of all political spectrum, and we don't discuss politics. We don't definitely, judge anybody for sure. And at the same time, as a journalist, as a person who's leading a TV organization, the only in the main Jewish television, you have your opinions. As a rabbi, you kind of need to maybe not to talk, but as a journalist, you have to talk. How do we reconcile the two?
That's a very interesting question. First of all, JBS is a non-profit channel, and that means we cannot take a political stand. So I don't. A political stand means it's not partisan. I would never endorse Joe Biden. I would never endorse Donald Trump. I wouldn't say to my audience, I'm voting for whoever. That would be inappropriate for me to do. What I can do, and what I do all the time, and now we're talking about JBS, and then I'll talk about a rabbi in a moment. It's a subtle but a very important distinction you are drawing. There are times I am a rabbi, and you and I understand what the word rabbi means, and I think it may be that Russian American Jews have a better understanding of what the word rabbi means than American Jews. It means teacher. It does not mean holy. It does not mean that I am a better person, and it doesn't mean I have and that I'm any closer to God. I'm just a guy. And my interest has been learning about the Jewish tradition and becoming an effective teacher of the Jewish tradition, Judaism, Torah. And when I'm a rabbi, I am teaching Judaism. If I lead my congregation, I am a rabbi leading a congregation. I would never in my congregation give a political sermon, a political drash. I would never say to my chavorot, if you don't vote this way, you're doing something immoral.
Of course.
You're doing something un-Jewish. You say, of course, but at the moment, one of the dynamics of contemporary Jewish life is that within the Reform movement, they are very pro-Democrat. And they hate Donald Trump. And you will go into Reform synagogues and you'll hear the rabbi say that. I think they're making a terrible mistake. I think, first of all, anybody in their congregation who doesn't hate Donald Trump, but who thinks Donald Trump along this is doing some kind of good job, they feel alienated. And not only that, I find the hatred of Donald Trump to be absolutely mindless and so simplistic that it doesn't move me. But whether it moves me or not, it's not appropriate from my perspective for a rabbi to be political on Shabbat. You know, on Shabbat is supposed to be a day of rest. And the great Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel said, you don't light a fire on Shabbat. You're forbidden to light a fire on Shabbat. Even the fire of righteous indignation, meaning if you see something in society that you want to change and you have this passion for social justice, on Shabbat, you get to rest. And you don't have to worry about righteous rage and indignation over something you see on Shabbat. And I think that's a very important insight. And so I'm always surprised that rabbis seem to think, well, it's the only time I get to speak to my congregation. So I've got to tell them what they should do and how they should think and how they should feel. I'll quote one of my favorite quotes was by Shimon Peres, who said, "The job of the media is to tell us what we should think about, not tell us what we should think." Today's American media wants to tell us what to think, not what to think about. In any case, on JBS, I would never express a political support or opposition of a candidate. But in a journalistic setting, in a discussion with other people, I would discuss the following. Had Donald Trump's policies been good for Israel? Will Joe Biden's policies be good for Israel? Will Israel benefit from a Biden-Harris administration? Did Israel benefit from a Trump-Pence administration? And for that matter, how has the Trump administration, what's the Trump administration done for the Jews of America? It's amazing to me, by the way, Aryeh, how many Americans and American Jews do not know that Donald Trump extended Title VI to cover anti-Semitism. Title VI was really part of the Civil Rights Act, and that protects minorities from discrimination. And there's been anti-Semitism in America, and Donald Trump said, why shouldn't Title VI protect Jews just like it protects other minorities? Well, that was such an important decision that he made. And he was criticized by people who hate him because he made it. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem. He was criticized because he did it. Had Barack Obama moved the embassy to Jerusalem, there would have been wild dancing in the streets. So I have no problem discussing policy, but I do not take a personal stand on whether somebody should vote or support given candidates. And I was both critical of Barack Obama when he did things to hurt Israel, and I defended him when I thought he was being criticized unjustly. So I have no problem on issues expressing my opinion. Now I want to say, here I am with you. Here I'm free. I'm not representing JBS. I'm just representing Mark Golub. And so I will tell you whatever I am comfortable telling you without the kind of constraints that I have on JBS. And by the way, JBS, I have the same problem with JBS that I've described for rabbis. If JBS only was liberal, or if it only was conservative, I would be, in essence, dismissing a large part of the Jewish community that I hope watches JBS. And what is interesting, I don't know if this happens to you, but I will say something on JBS. I will get critical emails from people who say, you're too far right. I'll get emails for the same statement from people who will write me, you're too far left. And that, it comes with the territory. If you want to be a major anchor on an American television channel and you're not afraid to say things, people will disagree with you. But most of the time when people disagree with me, they disagree with me because they want me to say something, not because of something I've said. Anyway, that's the answer to your question. as a rabbi, and as a journalist, and as somebody who has to be the anchor of a nonprofit television channel.
I want to share a secret with our audience. And actually, I'm sure many people should know that once you spoke at Rage and you got up and you said, you think I am running a media business? No, I am in business of Ahavat Israel,
Yes.
which means I'm in business of loving Israel
Yes.
and the Jewish people.
And you
That
heard
is
me,
the
you
business.
heard me at Rage.
I heard you, and I can tell you that I believe that even though maybe you speak a bit different in, under different circumstances, but I am absolutely sure that both in your congregation and on your TV, you're sharing the same values
Absolutely.
and your
Absolutely.
passion for Israel and Jewish people. And I would even say something else. I think I am confident that many non-Jews watch us as well.
I'm sure.
And actually, in your, I believe when I was speaking about what you said, I said that uh, someone who supports democracy in the Middle East, Israel, it's not good just for Israel. We do it as Americans. Because if we protect justice and support democracy, it means we project our values. It means we are a democratic state. It's good for us. When we want to support justice and peace and promote peace in the world, it is who we are, and therefore we are blessed to who we are. And if we make mistakes in foreign policy, it's just a projection of what we need to grow, let's say, what we need to improve.
Yes.
So we're not selfish. There is no contradiction between being a loyal Jew, a loyal American. Is that true?
I think you're absolutely right. But I will ask you this question. If a Jew says to you, when I go in to vote for a president of the United States, the single most important issue to me is Israeli foreign policy. Is that in any way undermining, in your mind, the fact that this is an American election that has to do with the quality of life in America? And I'm not suggesting, I'm not pushing you in one way or the other. I just want to know, what would you say to a person who said, the most important issue for me, in whom I vote for president, is whether I think they will be better for Israel or worse for Israel?
My statement is the one that I quoted was actually for those people, because there were other people who said, I don't care about Israel. I
Yeah.
care only about America. And I said to them, you know what, if you care for America, then you care for peace and democracy, and peace and democracy good for our American life. And it is the same. And I am confident that the test of anti-Semitism, in a way, it's a curse for anti-Semites and blessing for those who love Jews and minorities and peace and justice.
Okay, but I want to make sure you understand the dilemma.
Of course.
The dilemma is the following. There are people who believe that Donald Trump was very bad for America. He created they would argue,
divisiveness.
Yes, very divisive, and that he created a mood of hatred and racism, and that ultimately, I mean, the way Biden ran his campaign, he was running for the soul of America. There were people who believed Donald Trump destroyed America's soul. At the same time, he did many, many policies that were very good for the state of Israel. And there are Jews who have said to me, I know what he's done to America, but I'll live with it because what he's done for Israel is so wonderful. So it's not a question of people who say by being good for Israel, Donald Trump was good for America. What they're saying is, although Trump may have been good for Israel, he was not good for America at all. And please understand, I'm not expressing my personal opinion. I'm expressing what people say and what they say and feel. They say, although he did good things for Israel, he was so bad for America that American Jews should vote against him, even though his policies were good for Israel. At the same time, there are Jews who say, no, we have one Jewish state. That Jewish state is always in existential danger. And the most important thing for me is to elect a president who will protect my family who live in Israel. And even if I have to live with somebody I think is divisive and may not be the most eloquent or the sweetest guy in the world, and even though he says dumb things and he's inconsistent and he was never trained to be president, I want this guy to be president because one thing is clear. He is he's the most pro-Israel president we may ever have had in the 70-plus year history of the state of Israel. The Jew who says that to you, Aryeh Katzin, who says, I know Israel, I know Trump is not good for America. Trump is not good for America, but he's good for Israel, and that's my priority, and I'm going to vote for a president who I think is good for Israel. What is your advice to that person?
My advice for him would be, reconsider, because if Trump is good for Israel, it is because he has the right values and priorities, and it's eventually economically it's good for America, number one, even though I understand I'm not answering question, but I want to tell you the dilemma that you said is actually the dilemma of my heart, and I hear this argument all the time. And my answer to this, even to myself, on one hand, I don't know, I want to hear your answer. Because I do hear the other side as well. I do hear, as a Russian Jew surrounded by 90% of very vocal supporters of Donald Trump, very vocal. And we have a minority of people who oppose him. But I do hear them and I understand them. And these people say, you say his actions matter, unemployment went down, the economy was growing, look how he took care of the minorities, look at Latino vote and African-American vote. We understand all that. But his divisive rhetoric, his words matter. When I hear that, I understand that God created the world with the power of speech. Speech is very important. And if Donald Trump will actually lose elections, finally, whenever if it's going to be cleared, I would say to myself, I learned a lesson. Words matter. That would be my answer. And I would even say, I respect a person who says he's good for Israel, he's good for America. I cannot stand his personality. I want to be proud and tell my children I voted for or supported a moral person who can be a role model for you. I would respect this person. I respect these people.
I'm sorry.
I would not argue with these people.
You respect a person who says what?
Who will say to me, I voted against Donald Trump because he's not a role model for my children. Politically, I will not agree with him, but I respect this person. And even in a dialogue that I believe I did on Tuesday with somebody who's very vocal opponent of Donald Trump, I said to him, you speak like a Rebbe. You speak like a Rebbe, uncompromising Rebbe. He's not compromising on the values of a human dignity. He says he's not a dignified person. I don't want to support him.
By the way, the respect you give to somebody who says, I cannot vote for Donald Trump, do you get the same respect from that person?
I will leave it to that person who I'm sure watching this
No, no,
as
no,
well.
no, 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 no.
I'm not gonna pass judgment.
It's not
I
about, I don't mean about that person in
right.
particularly. In general, do you think people who hate Trump will give those who like Trump the same respect that you are willing to give people who don't like Trump?
My respect to them is unconditional. As we learned in Slobodka, where your grandfather learned and where I learned, uh, the greatness of human dignity is the main power of everything we do in life. We respect people, we respect ourselves. We and I remember you spoke to me 30 years ago, and I remember I asked the question how to respond. I look at this person who's speaking, and you said to me, "We don't talk like that." Correct? Whatever they do, whoever they are, we don't talk like that. And I think that your TV and you yourself and the way you talk and how you're able to allow variety of different opinions in a respectful and rational way to really conduct issues. I think you create bridges, and that is shalom. This is really TV Shalom. Am I right? How your program was called? Shalom TV.
At the beginning, it was called Shalom TV.
Shalom TV. I wish, by the way, if I would make a Russian TV right now, like Russian Jewish TV, I would call it Shalom TV.
You're
My
welcome.
dream.
You're welcome to the name.
We'll do it together. I think we need Shalom TV
Anytime.
at this point in every single language.
You're absolutely right.
So how do you answer your own question then?
Which was?
You asked me, what do I say to a person who says, I am voting for Trump because he's good for Israel, even though he's bad for America. I'm an American citizen. I am an American citizen, but I don't care about America. I care about Israel.
Okay, first of all, it is always surprising to me that people who have an issue, for example, the issue that will drive them is abortion. Is this president for or against abortion? That's my most important issue. And if a president is for abortion, if I'm for abortion, when I say for abortion rights, I'm going to vote for that president. And I don't care how good he is, if he's against abortion rights, I won't vote for him. That person has a overriding concern, and nobody belittles him or her. I happen to feel now in today's world, the Jew who says, it's not like I want to hurt America, but for me, I understand that Israel needs America, that Israel is our only hope for a vibrant, long-term Jewish future. I consider the Israeli people my family. It's not, by the way, I'm in love just with an idea. It's human beings. It's what? It's 6, 7, 8 million Jews. It may soon be 10 million Jews, 12 million Jews. I care about their future.
Safety.
Yes.
And safety.
I care about whether Iran decides to either use or to threaten to use an atomic weapon against Israel.
Absolutely.
And I want an administration that's going to stand up to Iran and say, no, you can't build a nuclear weapon, because it will not only endanger the entire world, they said they want to wipe out the state of Israel. So I find a Jew who says that, and who says, it's not like I don't care about America, but my primary concern is the state of Israel. I feel they have that right as much as somebody who says, my priority is abortion rights. And I would also say something else. the friend you were speaking to, I assume it was a friend, but certainly somebody you were close enough to have a rational discussion with, ultimately said to you, I just can't have somebody whom my children can't look up to. And I would have asked him, tell me what Donald Trump has done or said that makes you uncomfortable for you and your children. Don't tell me what the media has said about Donald Trump. Tell me what you've seen or heard from Donald Trump that makes you say this. And people say to me all the time, he's a racist. What evidence you have that he's a racist? He's an anti-Semite. What evidence do you have that he's an anti-Semite? Give me evidence. Show me something. Do I think that he is a typical politician, schooled in how not to talk? Politicians are schooled. They learn. They get advanced degrees in how they can move their mouths and say nothing. Donald Trump isn't a politician. The reason he won 4 years ago was because he was not a politician. And America was done with politicians. And I said this on our last program. Had COVID not hit, Donald Trump would be president of the United States again.
Of course. Of course.
And if Pfizer had come out with its announcement of a vaccine 2 weeks earlier and it had the information, Donald Trump might still be president. It's not like America, 70 million people voted for Donald Trump. Now 73 or 4 or 5 voted for Joe Biden. The country, in terms of a plurality, voted for Joe Biden. But to act as if everybody hates Trump or that everybody thinks he's a buffoon or he doesn't know what he's doing, you are dismissing 70 million Americans. And I know, again, when I say this, people who hate Trump, they just can't stand me. So, I'm careful.
We love you, but we love you. We love you, not just because of that, but my community, I believe that Russian Jews, or even maybe specifically babushkas and dedushkas, who have the Jewish heart and remember the Holocaust, they are single issue voters. 90% of all the elderly people here vote for Israel, because that's their brothers and sisters.
And I think that's absolutely fine. Good for them. Good for them. And by the way, coincidentally, I think you are right when you say an America that protects Israel is also protecting itself.
Correct. And when they burn Jewish books, they burn other books. And when they kill Jews, then later they kill everybody. I think that's the lesson the story taught us. Mark, I want to thank you so much. We didn't speak about, current events.
Well, go ahead. Ask me a question about current events.
I can ask you a question, but you know something, on this Zoom at 7 o'clock, people need to come, which is fine. Which is fine. No. If you don't mind, they're gonna be. That's okay. That's fine. That's fine. I'm asking you, and whoever wants to be here, we're not gonna let them talk. So please, I want to ask you about the concession. People claim that first time in modern history, a president did not make a concession speech, which is not the law, but it's a good tradition of American democracy for peaceful transmission of power. And not making this a concession speech, Donald Trump opposes the will of the American people and the democratic process. And therefore, the very idea of recount and wasting money and time and everything else is seen as another hateful act. On the other hand, and I wanted you to comment on that. On the other hand,
let me comment on that.
Okay. Okay.
Let
Good.
me just comment on that.
Please. Please.
And I wish I knew the Russian word for this. That's
I can translate. I will translate.
okay. That is 100% nonsense.
Чепуха.
That
Чепуха.
that is a partisan criticism that has no basis in fact, reality, or history. The notion that Donald Trump should concede before the vote is formally determined is ludicrous. I would ask any of your viewers to go back to the year 2000 and look at the history of the Bush-Gore election. It was not determined until December 13th. I think that was the date. There were legal challenges. Nobody said to anybody, why haven't you accepted the results yet? It is only because it's Donald Trump. Donald Trump has absolutely no constitutional democratic obligation to accept this election until he's sure that everything that he can do has been done legally. Donald Trump has said every legal vote should be counted and no illegal vote should be counted. Now, I told you when I was with you last time, the election is over. Biden has won. Do I think there is hanky-panky? Do I think there were terrible mistakes? Do I think there was even fraud? Yes, I do. But not enough to overturn the election. Too many people voted for Biden that no matter what Trump tries to show, he will not show that he has more votes than Biden in critical states. Joe Biden will be president of the United States on January 20th, 2021. But Donald Trump has every legal right to file any legal challenge he wants. And he's not the first president to do that. And it's happened before. And this notion, why is he delaying it? By the way, whom do you think, Aryeh, has said that Joe Biden has been elected? Do you think there is an election committee that said it? Do you think there's a United States organization or a Senate? No formal body has said that Joe Biden has won the race. The only people who have said it are people in the media. And they have every right to say anything they want. But because CNN or MSNBC or ABC say that Donald Trump has lost, doesn't mean Donald Trump has lost. I believe Donald Trump has lost. But I am in no way offended or critical of the Trump campaign for using every legal remedy they have to be sure. And one day, by the way, it will be sure. And when it's sure, then ask me if Donald Trump does a concession speech. At the moment, for anybody to suggest he should have made a concession speech, you're talking to somebody who's partisan and who hates Trump already. This is a bogus issue. It is a red herring in English. There's a euphemism, a red herring, a colloquialism. And if it's out of left field, has no real bearing, it's a red herring. It's a red herring. And in the end, finally, the votes will be counted. They're going to recount in Georgia. They were not the first state to recount after a presidential election. We had a recount in Florida after Gore and Bush. It went to the Supreme Court of the United States. Nobody said, how dare the Democrats take this to the Supreme Court of the United States? Nobody said that. They were doing a legal process. And the Supreme Court made a decision. Donald Trump has the exact same right. So whoever you've heard say, how come Donald Trump hasn't made a concession speech? And isn't he in some way insulting or violating or destroying democracy? You're talking to a partisan hack who does not know Jewish history, American history, and does not know constitutional law.
I want to thank you, and I'm sharing my wish or maybe my blessings. I wanted your comment on that. That I believe that American democracy will stand this test successfully, because currently in the current climate, whatever happens, half of the country will be extremely unhappy.
That's right. But I believe the half of the country that will be extremely unhappy are likely to be pro-Trump. And I don't believe they're going to riot in the streets. I don't believe that Rodeo Drive or Fifth Avenue is in danger. I believe they will say, as people have said to me all over the place, you know what? Okay, it's 4 years. We can live we live with 4 years for Trump. We can live with 4 years for Biden. And then we have another shot at it. And
Wonderful.
that's what it should have been said by Democrats when Donald Trump won 4 years ago.
Yes.
And by the way,
Yes.
it's no secret. I've said this on RTN. RTN is not a nonprofit, and therefore I could speak more openly on RTN than I could on JBS. I have said I'm a lifelong Democrat. I have never in my life voted for a Republican candidate for president. I sat with Yuri Rostov. I said the exact same thing. I also thought Hillary Clinton was going to win 4 years ago. I said that on RTN. And I said on RTN at 11 o'clock at night, I was wrong because I listened to all the polls. Lo and behold, all of you, because the Russian audience at RTN was very pro-Trump. I said to them, all of you who support Trump, you're going to be very happy tonight. At 8 o'clock, they were going to be very unhappy. By 11, they were going to be very happy. All right. I was so disappointed in my Democratic Party for the way they treated Donald Trump after he won, for the hypocrisy, for the deceit, for the lies, the bald-faced lies, and the mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, which means NBC, they all perpetuated a lie that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians to win the election. It was a lie. Although they promised us they had proof. And Mueller did his investigation over almost 3 years. And at the end of the investigation, Robert Mueller wrote a report that began, there is no evidence that anyone connected to the Trump campaign colluded with the Russians. And not one of them on MSNBC, not one of them on CNN, not one of my friends who told me this, that Trump was a Russian agent of Putin. Not one of my friends said to me, you know, Mark, we were wrong and you were right. Not one. So I have lost enormous respect. Not love, boy. These are my dear friends. I love them very much. Not only that, I don't believe they're bad people. I believe they are people who have been misguided and have been in English, bamboozled. They've been lied to, and they have swallowed the lie. And by the way, I hate it when anybody would compare Trump to Hitler or Goering or any Nazi. It means they know nothing about what Nazi Germany was, and they blaspheme the Holocaust when they do it. But if you want to see a system that reminds one of how the Nazi machine worked, the Nazi machine was based on the fact if you told a lie over and over and over again, people would just swallow it. Well, we lived with our media and the Democratic Party telling us a lie over and over and over again. And good people swallowed it. Hook, line, and sinker. They swallowed it. And even when they learned it wasn't true, nobody said, gee, I was wrong. Gee, I wonder if I should ever watch CNN again. Gee, I wonder if I should ever watch MSNBC again. Why should I ever take what they say seriously? Nobody says that, are you? And that to me is the most painful part of all. The most painful part of all is that people I love and respect, they're unable to face the truth because they've decided Donald Trump is the single worst human being ever made since Hitler. And it's just not true. There are a lot of things to criticize about Donald Trump's style, language, bearing, the way he conducts himself, and his you have a feeling very often there's no real policy agenda. He obviously makes people uncomfortable because they tend to resign a lot. And at the same time, this is a man who wants only one thing. He wants to make America great. And his best intentions were only to help America. And so he gets no credit for all the good he did. And I'll say it again. If COVID hadn't hit, Donald Trump would have walked back into the president. It would have been a landslide for him. So there's my answer to your question. It's a long answer to why didn't Donald Trump make a concession speech? It's inappropriate for him to make a concession speech until we know with certainty that he has lost.
I have a word, first of all, for those people who swallowed, so to speak, the poison.
Yep.
And I'll tell them, gee, watch JBS.
Watch JBS.
Because the same way, in Soviet underground, I was part of the underground magazine Tarbut.
Yes, you were.
And we were publishing, and I wrote a Pesach. I remember it was a Pesach story about Tarbut, about people went to jail because of sharing information. You heard about the word samizdat, something was printed, in the typewriters somewhere. So, and the idea was, if the propaganda in the Soviet Union used pravda, do you know what pravda means in Russian?
Truth.
And did you hear about the second newspaper called Izvestia? Even today, yes. This newspaper exists. You know what it means? News.
News,
it
right.
means news. So it was a joke in Russia. Two people talking, one says, there is no news in Pravda and no Pravda in news. You understand?
Yes,
People couldn't criticize, but they just hinted. But I want to tell you, in GBS, you'll find the truth, and most importantly, you'll find love for Jewish people, for Israel, and for America. I want to thank you so much, and I want to tell you, 10 people with us already on the class of Torah that we started here 7 o'clock, so people were entering our Zoom. No, you're part of it. I want to thank you so much for being with us, and I want to ask you one thing, to meet with you again.
Anytime. And I want to remind the audience, if you want to be in touch with me, very simple email address, Rabbi Golub jbstv.org. Good night to
Thank you
all
so
of
much.
you.
And
Love you
Shabbat
all.
Shalom. And
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
Shalom.
Good.
Shabbat
Keep you
Shalom.
well. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Bye-bye.
Окей, окей. Мы должны начать урок, и поэтому мы заканчиваем